If small talk makes you want to disappear, but a deep conversation energizes you for hours. This is not a video about social anxiety. It's a video about your operating system. Society assumes that wanting silence means you're insecure, which is ironic because insecurity usually wants attention, not silence. Here's the part they get wrong. Insecurity is loud. Confidence is quiet. People who avoid attention usually aren't afraid of being noticed. They're just very aware of the cost, because attention is not free. It demands energy, performance, and explanation. And some minds look at that and think no return on investment. You are not avoiding attention because you can't handle it. You're avoiding it because you already understand how little it gives back. And once you see that, being all the time feels like unpaid labor. Society calls that antisocial. Psychology calls it efficiency. You're not quiet because you have nothing to say. You're quiet because most situations don't deserve a response. And once you understand that difference, everything changes. Almost everyone who feels this way falls into a few very specific patterns. Not personalities, patterns. And once you see them, you can't unsee them. You'll recognize yourself instantly, sometimes uncomfortably fast. And before you judge any of these types, understand this. None of them are broken. They're adaptive. They learned that attention often creates more noise than value. So as I go through these, just notice which one feels familiar. Because familiarity is not coincidence, it's pattern recognition. And once you know your pattern, a lot of past misunderstandings suddenly make sense. Type 1. The low-energy social strategist. This type doesn't hate attention because of fear. They hate it because it's inefficient. Every social interaction has a cost. Energy, focus, emotional bandwidth. And Type 1 minds calculate that cost automatically. They look at attention and think, how much effort will this take? And what exactly do I get in return? Most of the time the answer is not much. This is the person who stays quiet in meetings, not because they have nothing to add, but because repeating what everyone already knows feels pointless. To everyone else, this looks like disengagement. But internally, it's optimization. This is not social anxiety. This is cost-benefit analysis. They don't dislike people. They dislike waste. Type 2, the pattern reader. Type 2 doesn't avoid attention because it's tiring. They avoid it because they've seen how it works. They notice patterns most people ignore. Who speaks to be liked? Who speaks to dominate? Who performs confidence? And once you see that, attention stops feeling flattering. It starts feeling predictable. They can sit in a room for 5 minutes and already know who wants approval and who wants control. So when attention comes their way, they don't feel honored. They feel analyzed. They know applause doesn't equal respect. Visibility doesn't equal truth. And popularity doesn't equal competence, so they step back. From the outside, this looks like detachment. From the inside, it's clarity. When you can see the strings, you stop wanting to be on stage. Not everyone will relate to this. And that's okay. Type 3, the boundary keeper. Type 3 hates attention for a very simple reason. Attention is access. And access, when it's uncontrolled, becomes intrusion. This type learned early that being visible invites opinions, projections, and emotional demands they never asked for. So they became careful. Not closed. Careful. They understand something most people learn too late. Once people notice you, they feel entitled to you. Your time. Your reactions. Your explanations. This is the person who keeps their life private. Not because they're hiding, but because peace requires limits. From the outside, this looks like distance. From the inside, it's self-defense. They don't hate attention. They hate uncontrolled access. This is why privacy is so often misunderstood as secrecy. If you've ever wondered how to protect that boundary without pushing people away completely, there's something useful pinned in the comments. If it helps, it's there. Now let me finish this. Type 4. The quietly capable Type 4 doesn't hate attention. They just don't need it. This is the person who knows what they can do and doesn't feel the urge to announce it. Not because they're humble in a performative way, but because certainty doesn't ask for witnesses. They've already tested themselves. They've already failed privately. They've already improved quietly. So when attention shows up, it feels unnecessary. They don't seek validation because they already validated themselves long ago, which confuses people. Because we're taught that confidence is loud. Type 4 silently disagrees. They understand something very simple. Real ability speaks eventually. even when the person doesn't. This is why they often get underestimated at first and respected later. Type 5. The overstimulated thinker. Type 5 doesn't hate attention because of people. They hate it because of volume, noise, input, demand. Their mind is already busy, always processing, connecting, analyzing. So when attention turns toward them, it feels like more tabs opening in a browser that already has too many running. This is the person who enjoys deep conversations but dreads being the center of a room. Not because they're nervous, but because attention multiplies stimulation. And their brain says, no thank you. This is often misread as social anxiety. It's not. It's sensory overload wrapped in politeness. They step away from attention the same way someone steps away from a loud room, not out of fear, but out of self-regulation. They're not antisocial. They're overstimulated. What most people get wrong, and here's the part almost everyone misunderstands. Hating attention does not mean you hate people. It means you hate performance. You hate noise disguised as connection. The most intelligent people don't hate people. They hate performing for people who aren't even paying attention. Most people chase attention because they confuse it with worth. Smart, introspective minds separate the two. They understand something quietly powerful. Depth does not need an audience. Clarity does not need applause. So when attention shows up, they pause. They ask, is this meaningful or is this just visible? And if it's just visible, they step back. That's why they're often misunderstood. Silence gets labeled as arrogance. Boundaries get labeled as coldness. When, in reality, it's discernment. They're not trying to disappear. They're trying to stay intact. So now the real question is not why do smart people hate attention? It's this: which type are you? Most people recognize themselves immediately. Most people are not just one. They're a mix. And once you know your pattern, a lot of your past stops feeling confusing. It starts feeling intentional. So if one of these types felt uncomfortably accurate, you already have your answer. And if someone sent you this video, they're not calling you antisocial. They're trying to explain something they never knew how to say. That might be the only attention you need all day.